Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock on the dot here. Time for the 14 First Alert Weather Show at 9, sponsored by Audubon Chrysler Center. Thanks for joining us here this evening. We're looking out to the west now. We had clouds moving in this evening, but generally a really nice night going out there. And we are looking at another overnight low of around 62 to 60 degrees. Our only rain chance this week will come late Wednesday night, early Thursday. Could have a couple of thunderstorms in there and some downpours. And then the next big change as we look ahead will be triple-digit heat index values and upper 90s by the first part of next week. That would be Monday and Tuesday. No storm risk, of course, for tonight and even tomorrow. It stays well to our west. By Wednesday, though, most of the tri-state could expect a thunderstorm or two. The greater risk for severe weather is going to hang out here just north of us from about Terre Haute all the way up to Chicago and back toward Peoria and the Quad Cities. When you look at the hour by hour, you see that clear sky through noon tomorrow, and then by Wednesday, maybe some showers first thing in the morning, but the better chance will likely come with a cold front trying to push in late Wednesday night. This is 11 o'clock. And you see some scattered showers working in and out through early Thursday morning, and then we clear out again. And then that opens the doors to some really hot, humid air again. Starting with the weekend, we'll see highs in the lower 90s and maybe even upper 90s by Monday, and that would be well above the normal high of 88 for this time of the year. We've finally gotten rid of that smoke for the most part. There's still little traces of it in the atmosphere, but looking ahead, it should be minimal going through Tuesday and Wednesday. So while the fires still rage up there, the weather patterns have favored keeping the thickest concentrations of smoke back to our north. We're at 73 right now, and most of our neighbors here in the tri-state are in the 70s and even mid-60s now. Dundee at 65. Madisonville at 68. The difference there is probably our cloud cover holding some of that heat in, and of course feels like temperatures not an issue here with this combination of temperatures and humidity. Lows this morning ventured into the mid to upper 50s. Henderson hit 57 this morning. That hasn't happened since mid-June, and then highs this afternoon were generally around 86 to 88 degrees. I believe we had 86 at Evansville. And that means for the month now, our average temperature is still warmer than normal. These cool days will help pull that back a little bit. Our rainfall is at about a 1-inch surplus. So if we look at it here, going back the last 12 months, we have had very few months where we actually had more rain than we typically would get. The vast majority have been drier than normal, which is why we have that rainfall deficit for the year. But it hasn't really made the drought situation bad. Our June was so wet, it pretty much wiped out any drought threat for the tri-state. For tomorrow, another beautiful day. We will start with sunshine in the morning, mid-60s, topping out around 85 or so. A couple of interesting features here on the map. We've got low pressure right over, you see it? I mean, you can see it spinning up there. out over, I believe that's Saskatchewan, and moving toward Alberta, or maybe the other way around. And then we have a line of thunderstorms across the Dakotas. Again, that's a cold front being generated by that low pressure. Here to the east, though, we have high pressure pretty much sealing out any chance of rain or cloud cover getting in here. That high will eventually move to the east and out of our area. And once that happens, we will get those scattered showers that I showed you there off the top, and maybe a few thunderstorms late Wednesday night. Best rain chance again through early Thursday morning, and then we dry out again for the weekend, and our winds will shift around to the south, which will jack the temperature up into the upper 90s there, potentially on Monday. Not a big rainmaker here. Again, the atmosphere is so dry that we're not going to have the makings for any significant rainfall. 61 degrees tonight. It'll be mostly clear and comfortable. Tomorrow, 86 degrees. We'll keep the humidity on the back burner for now. And then we won't. It'll come to the front burner here by the weekend and next week as that temperature climbs into the upper 90s potentially. And you see the temperature outlook through the end, or the beginning rather, of September, and we are going to start to heat things up in a big way. Well, we're changing it up a little bit. Instead of a pet pick tonight, we have William Raleigh's travel log here. William, of course, a regular viewer here, the streaming shows. I think this is Soo Lock. He can tell us for sure, but it's in Michigan. And of course, you see the big ore freighter there coming under the bridge, and I know he will tell us exactly where that is. There were no captions on the pictures, but and a lot of train pics too. Sorry, William, I didn't put the train or Tesla in there. I probably should have. Anyhow, let's get your questions here. Let me get my phone, and we'll see what's on your mind tonight. Of course, I'm looking at the 14 News Facebook page, so if you want to chime in there, you can. Laura Gray is always watching from Dawson Springs. Hey, Laura. Suzanne Daly's in Morganfield checking it out. Okay, now we got William Raleigh. Got to see the caboose at the end of the train going through town just by accident. Yeah, I didn't think they put cabooses on trains anymore. William's a big rail fan, so Soo Lock, right? No? Tell me, William. Misty Sensmeyer, it was a beautiful day and I'm enjoying these cool nights. Me too. I sat out and watched the football team's practice this evening. Let's see. Cheyenne Hammonds, good evening. Okay. Jeff Miller, watching out for corn fog. You know, it hasn't been as bad. I think we finally got enough dry air in. I haven't noticed that. Now, last week I was driving really early in the morning, and you could see it. It was just thick right over the corn stalks. And of course, they're, evapotranspiration. They're lifting or reducing that, releasing that moisture rather. William Raleigh says this is Port Huron, Michigan. Okay, very good. I like to be accurate here. I don't want to just guess. It kind of looks like the Soo Lock. I guess they have a vertical lift bridge there. Jeff Turner, how does the flooding look along the Wabash? It seems that over the years, places like New Harmony or Vincennes do not have problems. Can I discuss? Well, sure. First off, here, let me, I don't have a river graphic to put up here behind us. I wish I had just a plain old map, but anyhow, the Wabash River, both at, I'll check the stages here real quick. I should have done that before I came out. Of course, the White and the Wabash are on the rise because of flooding that we had in central Indiana a couple weeks ago, or I guess it was, almost 2 weeks ago now. And a real quick check here, the river stage. I figured out a way I can show this to you. So, Vincennes is in flood right now, or near flood, 18.3, but falling. The White River at, we'll do it at Petersburg, was right at almost the flood stage here. It's at 17.5 and going down. I think flood stage is either 16 or 19 at, let me see here, I should know that too. Minor flooding 16 feet, yeah. And then New Harmony is, and I know the flood stage there is 15 feet, and they're at 14.8. So that has come down quite a bit. Okay, I'm going to come back out there and actually talk to you. But before I do that, we can look at the river and explain this in a couple of ways. So I'm going to zoom way in here And I think that'll get us what we need to see. So the question was, do they still have trouble with flooding out New Harmony, which is right up here? Well, there are a couple things about New Harmony that are not unique to cities along the Wabash River. And I think you know where I'm going with this. It is on basically, and there's an oxbow to the north. We call you have a meander in the river, and that's anytime it waves back and forth. Over hundreds, millions of years, these meanders will get cut off, and it leaves an oxbow lake. And that's what happened to Grayville. Grayville is now high and dry because the river bypassed it by cutting through one of these oxbows. So there's an oxbow lake at Grayville, whereas years ago, I mean, within the time that I've worked here, within the last 35 years, you could boat right on into Grayville, but that got cut off in a flood. And when these floods happen, they tend to alter the way the river flows, the path that it takes. New Harmony still gets flooding, yes, and the Army Corps has done some work, I believe, to the north to try to shore up that part of the Wabash so that either it doesn't come through New Harmony or cut New Harmony off. And you know, there is some flood mitigation, there are some levees around, but it can still flood in New Harmony and certainly in the lowlands up around Vincennes. Vincennes has a pretty good levee system on the Vincennes side. I'm not sure what it's like on the Illinois side. You know, I've been to Lawrenceville before, but I've never been just straight across here. I guess that's the Red Skelton Bridge maybe, or one of the two. You know, you can go right across there into Illinois. The point is, over the years, we have still had major floods along all of our rivers, including the Wabash, and they still do get flooding. It's just that we haven't really been in a situation where that has happened recently, where we've had, like downtown flooded or something like that. It would take a lot of rain to do that. So the short answer to your question is the White and the Wabash River are below flood and coming down, and Vincennes, New Harmony, Mount Carmel, all those cities along the Wabash River, while they still get some flooding, there is some flood control in place. Hope that answered your questions. I'll check and see if it passed the smell test here in a minute. Science Corner, I wanted to talk real quick about cloud formation and cloud seeding. That question often comes up when we get dry weather. Remember that clouds are formed basically by evaporation. Water droplets go into the sky after the sun shines down on the wet earth, and those water droplets turn into water vapor, which then becomes visible again when it cools down and condenses. And within the water vapor, we also have little dust particles and pollen and other stuff up there. We call those aerosols, and they can become a condensation nuclei. In other words, the center of where all these water droplets are going to go to collect. There is static electricity, or an electrical charge, that is opposite between the water droplets and the aerosols. And so they will, through there's a word for this. There's two cloud processes, and I can never pronounce them very well. Clausius-Clapeyron is one, but the other one is coalescence, and it's where they come together, collision and coalescence. So anyway, those water droplets come together and glom onto the aerosol, and eventually, if enough of them get on there, the water droplet becomes heavy enough, it will then be drawn back down to Earth as rain by the action of gravity. Well, if that doesn't happen naturally, we can force the hand a little bit by cloud seeding. Now, cloud seeding has been experimented with and tried since the 1940s, and the idea was kind of like culturing pearls, right, where they take oysters out and put a little sand or something in there, and then it makes a pearl. So the same for clouds. We would put those condensation nuclei or aerosols into the cloud to hopefully force it to create rain. So what do you use? Well, you can use dry ice, or you can use silver iodide powder and drop it from a plane or balloon or anything to get up there. And then as that mass of condensation nuclei comes down, the hope is it will draw the water from the cloud and create rain. This is not done very much in the United States. It's mainly in the West, ski resorts, places like that. And even then, you have to have a decent cloud bank in order to seed the clouds. And in ideal conditions, it may increase the rain or snow output of the cloud by 10%, but it's not guaranteed to produce or even enhance rainfall. And so it's not really the cure-all, and it is expensive to do. Private companies will do it, farmers sometimes have it done, resort owners, municipalities, but the government does not do cloud seeding, but all activity must be cleared through NOAA, the National Weather Service, and NOAA, which is the federal government. You don't want a bunch of people up there overseeding and crossing paths. Now, one thing to keep in mind, cloud seeding cannot create storms, it cannot affect or limit hurricanes, and it can't really be done on a wide scale. So it's not really a practical solution to the lack of rainfall. I mean, if you look west, like at Lake Mead and Lake Powell, which are very, very low, if cloud seeding worked, you can guarantee it would have been done by now, but it's very expensive and doesn't do very well to create rain if there isn't already plentiful moisture in the atmosphere. Okay, back to your questions now. So let's see here. Nancy Perry says, good evening. Bill Vowles wants to keep the humidity away. I wish I could, but I can't. Zach Seitz, any severe weather this week? No, I don't think so. Oh, wait, Jeff Turner chiming in again. I did knew some redirection in Grayville and thought that might be similar to New Harmony. I think New Haven, Illinois has some problems. Little Wabash flows into the Wabash there. Yes, and I'm not sure there's much flood control in New Haven. Last time I was there, it seems like they were pretty prone to the river. Now the Little Wabash, obviously a tributary of the Wabash, but it drains central and southern Illinois, whereas the Wabash River, and especially the White, go way up into central and northern Indiana. Huge, huge watershed. So if we get a lot of rain in Indianapolis, for example, it'll come straight down the White River. I've heard the White River referred to as Indianapolis's storm sewer. That's not a very flattering word, but actually the imagery is correct because you have a lot of development in Indy in that area, so the water can't run off. It goes into the White River and down. And that's probably why we saw catastrophic flooding in Indianapolis. Now, you get that much rain. I think they had 9 or 10 inches of rain there on the north and east side. It's going to flood anything, but that would certainly also play into it if you don't have a place for the water to run off. Let's see. I think we got everybody else in there. I do not have any more questions, so I'm going to let you go here and see you on 14 News at 10. I hope you're enjoying this cool night, and we have another great day coming up tomorrow. I'll look ahead to those storm chances and that big warm-up for the weekend at 10 o'clock. In the meantime, stay safe, and thanks for watching.